Assalamualaikum, my name is Dayana Azati Binti Abdul Kahar and my matrix number is 287039. Effective financial management and business planning are essential for a long-term company and mission. To better understand a company's financial result and trends over time, companies can use ratio analysis. Ratio analysis is a tool managers use to identify the company's strengths and weaknesses to develop new strategies and initiatives. In addition, funders may use ratio analysis to compare results to similar organizations or to judge the effectiveness of management and the impact of their mission. In this assignment, we will compare the financial health and performance of two companies, which is OM Holdings Limited and Orna Paper Industry Sdn Bhd. OM Holdings Limited is a manganese ore and ferroalloy company that operates on a vertically integrated basis. These companies are engaged in mining and trading raw ore, in addition to the smelting and marketing of finished ferroalloy products. While Orna Paper Industry Sdn Bhd is one of Malaysia's largest manufacturers and suppliers of corrugated boards and cartons. We chose this company because both of these businesses are classified as belonging to the same industry, which is the manufacturing industry. The purpose of this study case is to compare and contrast the performance of two different companies from the aspect of liquidity ratios, activity ratios, profitability ratios, and leverage ratios. At the end of this assignment, we will be able to determine which company performed the best out of the two.
Hi everyone, I'm Vishanti Muniandi and my matrix number is 287036. Today, I am here to explain about liquidity ratio. A liquidity ratio is a type of financial ratio which is used to determine a company's ability to pay its short-term debt obligations. There are two types of liquidity ratio, which is current ratio and quick ratio. The current ratio is a liquidity ratio that measures a company's ability to pay short-term obligations or those due within a year. From the calculation above, we can conclude that Orna Paper Berhad is better at managing its company's short-term liabilities than OM Holdings Limited, since Orna Paper Berhad is more liquid and outwardly in a significantly better position to pay out its liability than OM Holdings Limited, which indicates ratio of 1.80 while OM Holdings Limited shows 1.16. Next, the quick ratio is an indicator of a company's short-term liquidity position and measures company's ability to meet its short-term obligations with its most liquid assets. From the above calculated statistics of the two businesses, we can see that OM Holdings Limited's quick ratio of 0.44, which is lower than Orna Paper Berhad's quick ratio of 1.32, it implies that OM Holdings Limited cannot wholly meet its financial commitments due to having less liquidity than Orna Paper Berhad. This demonstrates that the Orna Paper Berhad can pay off its short-term debts far faster than OM Holdings Limited and that they even have spare funds to store for the future.
Good afternoon, sir. My name is Li Pei Yi, matrix number 289737. I'm going to present and interpret how efficient the Orna Papers and OM Holdings operate the company based on the activity ratio, which include the inventory turnover ratio, total asset turnover, and account receivable turnover ratio. Let us look into inventory turnover ratio first. This ratio is vital to determine the sales efficiencies of the business based on how many times a company needs to replenish or replace their inventory sold out within a particular period. A low inventory turnover is not favorable as it may imply weak sales and overstock of their companies. Based on the calculation table, OM Holdings scored 3.10 times while Orna Papers get a 4.95 times, which means that Orna Papers need to purchase 4.95 times of their sold inventories within a year, more frequent than OM Holdings. However, this may due to a large volume of OM Holdings business in selling metal that result in lower ratio. Moving forward to the asset turnover ratio, they help to measure how effective the company utilize the asset to generate their revenue. The higher the ratio, the more capable of their asset utilization. OM Holdings score lower, which is 0.67 compared to Orna Paper, which have a 1.02. This indicates that Orna Paper able to use every 1 ringgit of the asset to gain a 1 ringgit and 2 cents of earning, higher than it costs, whilst OM Holdings may earn lesser than what they allocate. The last account receivable turnover ratio helps to analyze company effectiveness in converting their account receivable into cash through their collective action. Higher ratio means the company liquidity is higher and is dealing with a group of trustworthiness and strong financial ability clients, as the clients able to pay their debt as per agreement. Apparently, OM Holdings display a significant high capabilities of them in collecting their account receivable compared to the Orna Paper. However, this may due to a lower account receivable issued by Orna Paper due to their smaller business profile compared to OM Holdings. In short, the overall of the activity ratios Orna Paper considers perform better and is more ideal for shareholders. However, it is not enough to make a final conclusions, as the overall financial statement and the external factors need to take into consideration too.
And Andrew, and my metric number is 2x76x1, and now I will present on the probability ratio. In probability ratio, we have two parts, which is profit margin on sales. This percentage of profit produced from the selling product or service before the cost of product and administration expense. And the second one is the return on asset. It provides the ability of one company to use its asset to generate how much profit. Profit margin on sales. In OM Holding Limited, we can see there is negative 0.00421, and for Orna Paper Berhad is 0.55221. Orna Paper Berhad has a higher profit margin on the sales, which is 0.552 of profit in 1 ringgit of sales compared to OM Holding Limit with a ratio of 0.004 loss in a $1 of sales. This is because OM Holding Limited did not have profit in the year 2020. This shows that the Orna Paper has more ability to continually provide the product with a reasonable price that the customer is willing to pay and earn more profit from each product. The next is average total assets. In this we can see OM Holding Limited has negative 0.3%, and for Orna Paper is 4.7%. Orna Paper has earned 4.7% of profit with RM 1 ringgit of assets, but OM Holdings Limited has occurred 0.3% of loss with a $1 of assets because OM Holding Limited did not earn profit in the year 2020.
My name is Lim Yi-sun and my machine number is 2A1099. I am going to present the leverage ratio. Leverage ratio are used to determine the relative level of debt load that a business has incurred. This ratio compares the total debt obligation to either the asset or equity of a business. A high ratio indicates that a business may have incurred a higher level of debt than it can be reasonably expected to service with ongoing cash flow. This is a major concern since high leverage is associated with a heightened risk of bankruptcy. OM Holding Limited saw a much higher level of leverage than Orna Paper Berhad. Therefore, OM Holding Limited will see a lower level of financial flexibility and will face the risk of default if interest rates rise. If the economy goes into a recession, OM Holding Limited will most likely not be able to survive. On the other hand, if the economy and the company perform very well, OM Holding Limited can expect the higher return on equity due to leverage. Owner paper Berhad will have a lower risk and the lowest expected return. For the debt to equity ratio, OM Holding Limited saw a much higher level of leverage than owner paper Berhad. A high debt to equity ratio can be good because it shows that the OM Holding Limited can easily meet its debt obligation through cash flow and use the leverage to increase equity return. OM Holding Limited has a too high debt to equity ratio. The risk will be reduced and the company may not to be able to pay its debt.
Conclusion for this study include the possibility of recommending that the importance of ratio analysis depends on the specific requirements of each stakeholder and the specific requirements of the situation. After considering the financial of both companies, it can be concluded that Orna Paper Sdn Bhd, which is one of Malaysia's largest corrugated board manufacturers and suppliers, has a healthy asset management ratio, a favorable debt profitability ratio, and a lower liquidity ratio compared to OM Limited Holdings.